Welcome friends, welcome to my channel, The Creative Sagittarius. We are on our podcast, Bharat and Geopolitics, the podcast where we unravel the intricate threads of global power play and their implications for India and the world. Today, we are diving into a topic that has the entire world on edge, the escalating tension between Israel and Iran. What does this mean for regional stability and how might it impact the delicate balance of power in the Middle East? Joining us is an esteemed expert in Middle Eastern affairs, Dr. Adityanjee, who will help us decode the evolving dynamics between these two rivals and offer unique insights into what lies ahead. Dr. Adityanjee is the president for the Council for Strategic Affairs. So stay tuned as we explore how this escalation could reshape the global alliances and influence India's strategic interests. Let's get started. So welcome Dr. Adityanjee. Welcome to our platform once again.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me on your platform once again. I'm highly thankful to you for this invitation to discuss issues that are happening in West Asia theater.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because this war started between Israel and Hamas and kidnapping of the Israeli citizens. So this is going on and on. The tension is increasing day by day, and people around the globe actually fear this may engulf the entire Middle East. So I have a few concerns that I wanted to discuss with you. Since after the attack of Iran's attack on Israel, so Israel is in no mood in slowing down or sparing Iran. And as we know, US is already after Iran for a long time due to the nuclear weapons development. So the Iran is on the target of both the Israel and America. So with this situation, I just wanted to know how this escalation dynamics will work. How does this recent elimination of Hezbollah's top leaders by Israel escalate tension between Israel and Iran? What are the broader implications for Middle Eastern stability? And how might this impact the regional alliances and power dynamics? So,
Mr. Sinha, you have opened a number of issues.
Yes, sir.
It's a very detailed and complex series of questions that I'll try to address. First, for our viewers as well as for your platform, I don't like the word Middle East. Geographically, it is Southwest Asia or West Asia. So what we are talking about, an ongoing war in the geographical region of West Asia, which has been going on for a long period of time.
Yeah.
There has not been any peace in the West Asia theater. Pretty much since 1948, when the State of Israel was created, you have seen simmering low-grade wars interspersed with hot wars, but a cold war between Israel and its Arab and Muslim neighbors has continued with ongoing sporadic but periodic and recurrent terrorist attack on the State of Israel. And apart from that, even before October 7th terror attack on Israel by Hamas, let's look at the wider region of West Asia. There is a civil war going on in Yemen, but it's a proxy war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. There's a civil war going on in Syria, in which Turkey and other Sunni Arab nations are on one side. The president of Syria, Dr. Bashar al-Assad, supported by Iran and Russia, are on the other side. So there's a civil war going on there in which United States also became a party and, positioned some assets. There's a civil war going on in Libya. Since Gaddafi was killed, there are possibly 3 provisional governments and they are at loggerheads and control different areas. So the region of West Asia is littered with multiple regional small wars, conflicts. So there's nothing new there. But there's also this wider issue about State of Israel, which pretty much all Arab nations as well as Islamic nations want to destroy. That's the reality. That's the background on which October 7th Hamas attacks were predicated. Now, what is Hamas? Hamas is a terrorist organization. Who supports Hamas?
Iran.
Main backer is Iran. October 7th attacks were orchestrated not just by Hamas. There were 2 other organizations. One was Palestinian Islamic Jihad, that again is a terrorist organization. Who supports Islamic Jihad? Iran. And the third organization was Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon. And again, who's the backer of Hezbollah? Iran. Later during this conflict, Houthis of Yemen joined the war, started attacking merchant marine ships that were passing through the region. Who supports Houthis of Iran? They are a Shiite militia that is supported by Iran. So Iran's Islamic regime has been supporting its proxies, at least 4 of them, if not more, in the wider region of West Asia, to attack Israel. And all these organizations, including the Islamic regime in Iran, is sworn to destruction of the state of, quote unquote, the Zionist entity, which is Israel. So you have to look at the broader things. Iran, for the first 12 months, did not directly join till the Tuesday attack on Israel by ballistic missiles. Why? Because they are scared of getting into a direct conflict, direct war with Israel. Now, why October 7, 2023 attack was orchestrated? Israel was out of Gaza territory since around 2005. There were no IDF presence. There were no settlers. In fact, when they left Gaza to self-administer, they even removed the graves of Jewish people who were buried there. And they left a lot of infrastructure and they provided them technical know-how to do, these olive farms or in desert and things like that. Their idea was that if we give them some autonomy, self-governance, and some international help, it will become a new Singapore. But what happened in Gaza in 2007 in local elections, Hamas won the elections. Who supported Hamas? The civilians, so-called civilians living in Gaza. And that attack was orchestrated basically to prevent what is called rapprochement between the State of Israel, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. There was an imminent recognition of State of Israel so that the IMEC, India, Middle East, European transport corridor for, as a rival to the BRI, could be implemented. And for that process, you needed actually recognition of Israel by Saudi Arabia and UAE, the moderate Arab countries, currently moderately administered. Previously, they had their own credentials. So what Iran-sponsored proxies achieved by October 7th attack, in which 1,200 Israeli civilians were killed, and 250 were kidnapped, held hostage by Hamas terrorists, that it put a spanner on recognition of Israel by Saudi Arabia and UAE and possibly Oman. So Iran's strategic objectives to prevent wider peace between moderate Arab countries and Israel has been successful. What has not been successful is Israel's response, the tenacity of Israeli government. The coalition government led by Netanyahu was tottering at that point in time. What it did was it created a sense of national purpose despite critique of Netanyahu. If elections were held on October 7th, 2023, Netanyahu would have lost the prime ministership. But in the time of war, there was a war cabinet formed, and Israel's response was belated. They were caught by surprise, but they did what they wanted to do, although it has been very prolonged. Now the situation is that the conflict is not localized just to Gaza. It has been escalated into a war in southern Lebanon by involvement of Hezbollah. And once Hezbollah got involved, you saw the pager blasts. You saw the elimination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah.
Complete leadership structure had been destroyed, actually.
And actually, the person who replaced him there, he has also been eliminated. So the new leader of Hezbollah, I think, did not last even 3 or 4 days. He was also eliminated. And there is a wider maritime, terrorist attacks that are continuing by Houthis. So it has already become somewhat wider hot conflict in the West Asia region. And this is the first time Iran has attacked Israel by 180 ballistic missiles simultaneously in a swarm of missiles, hoping that Israel's ballistic missile shield, which is threefold, Iron Dome and Arrowhead, and there's one more. So that would be overwhelmed. But, important thing is that 2 of those missiles backfired and fell down on Iranian territories. And I think United States actually helped Israel counter this ballistic missile attack. What happened after that? Netanyahu, despite his political aims and objectives, gave an address to Iranian people directly. In which he differentiated between the Iranian people, and he called them proud nation of Aryan people in Iran. So there is a lot of narrative building going on. What Netanyahu is trying to do is not only differentiate between the Islamic regime, tightly controls the state of Iran in an authoritarian manner, and Iranian people on one hand, and secondly, Netanyahu is trying to differentiate between Arabs and Iranians because Iran is a civilizational nation and it's not an Arab nation. Most of the people make that mistake. Yes, Shiite Muslim nation in West Asia, but it is not an Arab nation. It's an Aryan nation. It has very long 3,000 years of history and has historic relationships with Bharat. So Netanyahu did this. And since elimination of Hassan Nasrallah, the supreme leader of the Islamic regime in Iran has gone into hiding because he was fearful of his own safety. But he resurfaced on Friday in the Ayatollah Khomeini Mosala Mosque, Grand Mosque, for Friday sermon. And he said that, what Hamas did was brave, justified, logical, and they had every right to do that. Second thing he said was that Zionist entity will be punished, and Iran's attack is in consonance with the international law, Islamic law, and Iran's national interests. But the interesting thing is that this sermon was not delivered in Persian language.
Okay.
This sermon yesterday, like in Friday's prayer, was delivered in Arabic language. So we are talking about narrative building in wider West Asia, that the audience were not so much Iranian people, but Arab nations with whom Iran has hostility and sense of rivalry.
So the Iran is looking for support in the Middle Eastern region.
In the West Asian region, not Middle Eastern region.
Yes, yes, yes.
So Iran is also trying to get support from government of India, although not directly, but indirectly. Iranian ambassador in New Delhi has said that India, as the leader of global South, must intervene and must counsel restraint to Israel. So from India's perspective, this is a very difficult choice because we have friendly relations with both the countries, with Israel as well as with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
With Iran, we have civilizational relationship for last several thousand years, predating even the creation of the State of Israel. With State of Israel, we have very good relationship. There was not so good diplomatic relationship because of internal political compulsions in India. But if you look civilizationally, India, as a nation state, as a civilizational state, gave shelter to Jewish people persecuted, migrated from the land of Israel to Bharat, whether they, arrived in Cochin or whether they arrived in Surat in Gujarat or whatever, they were never persecuted. So we have two nations with whom we have friendly relationship. Both are ideologically, diametrically opposite each other.
Yes.
One of the nation is fighting for its own survival.
Yeah.
The other nation is not the other nation, the government, the controlling government of other nation is sworn to destruction of quote unquote the Zionist entity. So in India's interest, the war should not be enlarged because it will hurt us economically. It will definitely affect our Chabar sort of deep sea port, mercantile, trade through the north-south corridor to Afghanistan and all that sort of thing. And it may affect the supply of oil to India. So it's a very difficult choice. This escalation will have larger impact on global economy because if oil supply is disrupted or there's a shortage in world oil supply, each and every country is affected. So issue is what would be Israel's response? Will Israel sit quietly and offer the other cheek for Iran to slap? Iran has already slapped one cheek of Israel. Will they do that? Perhaps not. Will the response be immediate? Probably not. Will the response would be timely? Yes, it would be timely, but it will not be immediate knee-jerk reaction. What they would do, what would be the targets? So first their targets are to attacked the command and control center of Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, which was done yesterday in a mosque.
Yeah.
Just like in Gaza, they had command and control centers, underground bunkers underneath hospitals.
Yeah.
In southern Lebanon, Hezbollah has its military command and control center in a mosque in southern Lebanon. So definitely attacks will continue on southern Lebanon. Israel has already declared United Nations General Secretary as persona non grata. He is not allowed to enter the state of Israel. Israel has told the UN peacekeepers in southern Lebanon that you please do not intervene in our military operations. We have to do mopping operations. So Israel, my guess is that will take this opportunity to sanitize southern Lebanon. They had a buffer zone in southern Lebanon, which they gave up and let the UN peacekeepers handle that in the wider interest of peace. So my guess is that this conflict will lead to creation of another buffer zone in southern Lebanon. Israel will not allow the dysfunctional government of Lebanon to continue to let Hezbollah prosper and orchestrate terrorist attack. So Israel will sanitize the southern Lebanon. That would be their priority while they are preparing for a proportionate response to Israel. What could be the targets? The oil refineries of Iran. Already, United States President Biden has come out in open and told Israel not to attack oil refineries. Why? Why United States does not want Iran's oil refineries to be attacked and destroyed? Because it affects the world economy. So you see an enemy of Iran, which is United States, there's no love lost between the two of them, is trying to use diplomacy to prevent destruction of oil infrastructure of Iran. Very strange thing indeed. Iran has threatened attacking US interests in West Asia because US has naval assets, aircraft carriers, their marines are stationed in various countries in wider West Asia, North Africa region, the WANA region. What could be the other targets? So one important target would be the leadership of Islamic regime. It would be probably the supreme leader of the Islamic regime himself, just like they decapitated Hezbollah by eliminating Hassan Nasrallah. They use this opportunity and plan something on the head of the Islamic regime, because Islamic regime is not popular in Iran, by building the narrative differentiating between Iranian people who want true democracy, not sham democracy of the Islamic regime. So Israel will do that. That would be a target as far as Israeli calculations are concerned. And the third legitimate target from Israeli perspective, I'm again as an objective analyst emphasizing from Israeli perspective, would be Iran's nuclear program. Their nuclear enrichment facilities, wherever there are 3 or 4 of them. After United States walked out of JCPOA under Trump administration, I think in 2018, when Trump used to certify, Iran's nuclear program has been on upswing. They were allowed uranium enrichment up to, I think, 20%, but they've gone up to 60% enrichment and more enrichment facilities. They're, under mountain in Natanz, and there are some secret facilities that were uncovered and all because there's no UAEA inspections at this point in time. So Iraq will try to do that. Now, people are afraid if there is an attack on nuclear facilities that may lead to sort of spread of radioactivity over the entire West Asia region.
Yeah.
Now, people don't realize that Israel had attacked Syria's nuclear facilities long time back and eliminated them totally. So Israel has done that kind of thing in the past without causing any increase in nuclear activity in general. There was an attack on Iranian nuclear program earlier in early like 2010 plus decade. And that was done by Stuxnet worm. So the Stuxnet worm was unleashed on Iranian nuclear program that incapacitated it and put it behind. I may remind your viewers that Stuxnet worm was in development since 2005, and in 2007, one of India's Agni missile tests
Yeah.
resulted in a failure, and that was result of attack by Stuxnet worm. Nobody talked about it, but later on it became clear. And this worm allegedly has been developed by Israel in collaboration with the United States. Now, these are all speculations. There's nothing like in open source documents about it. Nobody is going to admit it, but that is what is alleged if you do some research. So I mentioned three targets. One is oil refineries or oil infrastructure. Second is decapitating the head of the Islamic regime. Third is the nuclear program. My guess is that Israel will go for number two possibility first,
Yeah.
and followed by incapacitating the nuclear program of Iran. I don't think Israel will try to blow the oil refineries because that's not their way of doing work. The United States has done that in wider West Asia region, in Iraq and other conflicts, but Israel probably will not do that.
Do you think the America will be joining directly in attacking Iran?
It is not likely. United States has scrupulously avoided after so many fiascos.
Mhm.
There is no appetite in United States for quote unquote sending boots on the ground. And there are almost 60,000 US armed forces in wider West Asia region. Some of them are Marines, naval personnel. United States has bases all over the West Asia region. They will support Israel by material help, by technological help, by what is called technological intelligence. And they already support Israel with arms and ammunitions and, this Israeli ballistic missiles shield. So they will continue to help in that way. But will they be a direct party to a hot war? I don't think so. National elections are going on. I don't think President Biden would do that because that will be creating chaos. One of the presidential candidates had already exhorted the government of Israel to attack Iran's nuclear facilities. And I don't need to tell you who that presidential candidate is,
Yeah.
but that is where we stand at this point in time. Israel will not sit quietly.
That's true. That is, everyone thinks that, and Israel has not slowed down since the day the attack started on Israel. Actually, so and currently they are pumping the Lebanon. This is all fire. They are the videos I have seen. So, which country in the West Asia you think might join these forces, Iran and Hezbollah and the Houthis? So, what do you see next?
See, you have Iran
Yeah,
and you have Iranian proxies.
yeah,
The Iranian proxies are Hamas, Hezbollah. Hezbollah does not control a government.
yeah,
Houthis are a Shiite terrorist organization that pretty much controls Yemen.
yeah,
So, if one may say, it will be Iran, Yemen. Lebanese government will not join direct war, but Hezbollah has already kind of joined.
yeah.
Rather than which countries will join, I will tell you which countries may not be willing to join. Countries that may not be willing to join this Iranian war, Iran stroke war in West Asia against Israel, will be Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, because their trajectory is now different. They don't want to be victim of domestic terrorism themselves.
Yeah.
Ruling monarchies both understand the danger of jihadi terrorism, Islamic terrorism, and they have been on record that these people are not to be encouraged. Although in past both these countries did support Islamic terrorism, but now they have understood the dynamics, so they are no longer supporting it. And they are more interested in development of their countries and developing, alternative to oil-based economies. And that's why they are interested in IMEC, wider trade and mercantile activity. Similarly, a country like Oman, which is a moderate Arab Muslim country, will probably not like to join this wider war. Will Iraq be sucked into it? Possibly, because the Iraqi government at this point in time is backed by
USA.
Not so much by USA, but by Iran. USA does not hold much leverage in Iraq at this point in time. And, Iraq is a Shia majority country. So there are Shias, but they are Arab Shias. So if there is, besides Iran and Yemen, any other country that will join, it may be Iraq, because that is very nearby. The major issue is whether Turkey will take any action. Because in wider Middle East, there are three countries that are vying for leadership of the Islamic world. And they are Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Iran. Turkey believes that they are the, sort of torch bearers for a caliphate. After the breakdown of Ottoman Empire, Turkey took a very different route of secular democracy, but for last 20 years under Erdogan, Turkey has become as Islamic as possible. And they are trying to vie for the leadership of wider Islamic Ummah. They want to believe that they are the caliphate, and Erdogan believes he is the Khalifa. Iran is trying to upstage Saudi Arabia, which is a Sunni Arab nation, because they feel that as a direct descendant of the nephew of the Prophet of Islam, they have the divine right to be the leader of the Muslim world. So there are leadership tussles going on in Islamic countries, and that is going to be reflected in this. But the situation that happened in 1967 and 1971 in wider war in the West Asia, 12, 14 countries allied together against Israel, probably that will not be repeated. Even country like Jordan, which is next to Israel, I think is much wiser. Jordan is led by a moderate monarchy, and despite the bellicose statements, they probably will shy away from joining a war in which they will be swamped. Country like Egypt has already, you have seen the border walls on Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt. they don't want to invite this trouble by, terrorist groups who are working in the name of quote unquote Palestinian resistance. So all these countries have been burnt. Egypt does not want a war on its soil. It does not want to get into conflict directly, a hot conflict with Israel. Similarly, Jordan does not want, Saudi Arabia does not want, UAE does not want, possibly Oman does not want. But Iran will continue to, and Iran not as a nation, the Islamic regime that is holding Iranian nation to hostage.
So, sir, my final question to you: how strong you find Iran against Israel? Because I don't think any potent ally is there with Iran. Actually, they have only these terrorist organizations with them.
Look, one does not underestimate Iran. It's a large country. If you see area wise, population wise, there's no comparison between Israel and Iran. If you look at the number of personnel in the armed force, there's no comparison. And yes, Israel is technologically very advanced.
Yeah.
And they are determined because it's a question of survival of their nation.
Right.
So, and Iran, there's a weakness that the armed forces and the regime do not have popular backing from the Iranian people. So, how long can you sustain a war? But Iran also has oil, Israel does not have oil. Iran is able to sell the oil to China, you know. So it's not that despite all the international sanctions and all, Iran is still able to, sell their oil to certain specific countries. Iran is being backed by Russia. There is a very new quad that has emerged, and that is PRIC, Pakistan, Russia, Iran, and China. And it's almost like an alliance. So those are Iran's backers. But would China directly involve itself in a war against Israel? No. Will Vladimir Putin get involved in a direct war with Israel? No. In fact, Putin talked to Benjamin Netanyahu on telephone recently. So I don't think these countries will publicly, openly get involved in a direct conflict. They may support Iran, just like Iran is sending the, missiles and drones and other ammunition to Russia in its war with Ukraine. So Russia will reciprocate and give them
We,
materials.
we have consumed our time, only less than 1 minute is left. So I am just winding up this session, and thank you all for joining us today on Bharat and Geopolitics. I hope this discussion helped you gain a clear understanding of the ongoing Israel-Iran escalation and its broader implications. A special thanks to our guest, Dr. Adityanjee, for sharing such valuable insights. If you enjoyed this episode and found it informative, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more such thought-provoking content. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Dr. Adityanji. Thank you so much. We have discussed in detail